So our next topic is leveraging internal data to optimise NGO and NFP activities. And to share with us is Dr. Chris Ifediora. Dr. Chris Ifediora, a multi-award-winning Associate Professor of Medicine, is the founder and President of the OCI Foundation. He is an eminent peace ambassador and holds international recognition from the International Association of World Peace Advocates. The IAWPA is a global NGO affiliated with the United Nations Global Compact, a body established in 2000 by the United Nations under its former Secretary General Kofi Annan. Please welcome Chris as he shares with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris. I think I'll skip the introduction. I've already been introduced. So basically, it's on leveraging internal data to optimize NGO activities. So we're going to be looking at case studies and how just simply leveraging your data transforms what we do at the OCI Foundation. So this can be a bit of a struggle for what we're going to be talking about, just so we have a bit of an idea. So we'll introduce the OCI Foundation, what it's about and what we do, and how data is important to us. We'll also be looking at benefits of leveraging data and look at benefits and readability of how these things have impacted the OCI Foundation. And then we'll look at what we do, our on-field experiences, first-hand raw experiences on health, on education, and on social engagement, which by the way, the tripod of activities of the OCI Foundation. And then we'll look at other programs, and we'll have some gallery to drive home the points we're making, and then questions. All right, so just a few questions here before we go ahead, please. I know these are CEOs or members of big institutions in Australia. Does anyone here or any organization here, have they had any internal data review? Maybe show of hand if they do. Why don't you? So hopefully by the end of this, we'll have more hands going up that they will be doing that. And for those who do, has anyone published the data for maybe peer-reviewed journals or anyone? 1, 2, all right, good. So hopefully that's the whole essence. By the time we walk out here today, we'll all be gearing to review our internal data and hopefully publish them. So OCI stands for the acronym of the founder, which happens to be myself. We're functional in 3 countries. In Nigeria back in 2016, Australia since 2018, and the UK since 2023. Now this is important because it's all driven by data. And I'm going to explain how. In all countries we operate, we work on a tripod of activities. We promote an advanced health, we promote education, and we promote social and public welfare. And the activities we're going to be talking about today, the case studies we're going to be looking at, is centered on this tripod of activities. And by the way, in 2022, we won an award here, the Imagine NFP of the Year award. So thanks for all those people who did us then. We'll be looking at a few things from there. Now, data can be transformative for NGOs. It could be a powerful tool to drive change. Like I said, the case studies here today is trying to explain how the OCI Foundation experienced this. Can help you maximize your impact, help you achieve long-term sustainability and achieve greater cost efficacy. So multiple advantages. But then it can be outsourced or done in-house. Within the OCI Foundation, we do what we do in-house. And that's because we've been able to, over the years, build up some expertise across the world that will help us kind of evaluate this data. And our experiences on this, tell us that NFPs should be able to generate data from their regular activities and evaluate them. Not just doing what everybody does, but evaluate the data, gather them, and encourage data literacy for your staff. Collect data, analyze data, use data, and adopt technological integration and data management systems and analytical tools. Now, how does this benefit NGOs? So I'll go through a number of things just to give us a bit of a background before we move into the case studies. Obviously, you can drive efficacy, you can improve your accountability. I mean, we are required to be accountable to the management sector, the government. It helps with risk management, proactive problem solving, developing adaptive and continuous improvement strategies, developing competitive edge. Now, these first 4 are just generic, right? The next 6 are the things that OCI Foundation have directly experienced. So I've put them in red because it can enhance your program impact, it can ensure sustainability, it can help you with resource optimization and cost efficacy, stakeholder collaboration, innovation and adaptation. It helps you develop unique versions of what you do. Most NGOs compete in little spaces. We all do the same things in many cases. But with data, being able to get data from within your own activities, you can develop unique versions of doing the same thing you're doing, and then it can help you to upscale what you do. So like I said, from numbers 5 to 10 other things, we're going to provide examples from the OCI Foundation. And why does this matter? By prioritizing your data, your activities can be moved from local to national and possibly international. This is important because OCI Foundation experienced this firsthand from, attending to a little group of people in Nigeria where our activities are focused on. We've gone nationwide and we've gone international. And just by the power of data, we moved from attending to a few hundred people like most of the NGOs do to attending to millions of people every year. And that's again by the power of data. We're able to expand our shareholder engagement from talking to people in government to speaking to people, CEOs in non-government institutions, and even in the movie industry. So in Nigeria we have Nollywood, which is the third biggest movie industry in the world, behind Nollywood. So the US and Bollywood in India. And we work with them, and that's only because we're able to kind of get them on board with the data we presented to them. You can also use it to expand your capabilities and collaborations, of course international collaborations in different continents. We've talked about it here in Australia. We work with the Griffith University School of Medicine in the USA, Harvard Medical School, help us develop the programs we are talking about today. In Canada, we have the Next Gen U and 2 universities, British Columbia and Saskatchewan. And in Nigeria, of course, the government institutions and the Nanda University, a local university back in Nigeria. So experts from these bodies work with us, and that's simply because we have data that we're unique, that we're attractive to them, and that's what we're going to be sharing today. And we start with our first major program, which is the Alma Youth Anti-Cancer Health Campaign. It's our flagship health initiative, and it was designed with the help of the Harvard Medical School. It has the support of the WHO country office in Nigeria, and it was largely a product of research from the OCI Foundation. A bit of a story. When I left Nigeria in 2006 to England, I remember doing my Master of Public Health program, and one of the first things we were taught was, whatever you do as a health expert, research, evaluate it, and publish it. It stuck to my mind. It became useful 12 years later when I went to the Harvard Medical School because they also repeated the same information, and that was about the time the OCI Foundation came into existence. And the lessons from there have been very instrumental to what we're talking about today. So this Alma Youth Health Campaign is technology driven. And the research component of it is really data collection and evaluation. Like I mentioned before, came from experts, the help of experts from Griffith University here in Australia, institutions in Canada, British Columbia and Saskatchewan, and Nanda University in Nigeria. So in 2017, like every other activity, we wanted to go into breast and cervical cancers because it's a big killer back where it comes from. We wanted to empower people. But since then, the data has grown beyond the goals we set for ourselves. We did not start off trying to go national or go international. But because I took on board what I was taught, this is the outcome. So by 2018, after we did our first program, we researched into, we had a pilot study. And we identified 3 key weaknesses of the program. One was that the information we passed on disappeared within 6 months. We realized that after 6 months, everything we said became, they didn't remember anything. But then this was still stuff been done for years, and for some reasons nobody picked that up. We also realized that we could only reach 100 people at a time. It's like, Nigeria is a country of 200 million people. All right, so we're looking at about 50 million women we're trying to reach. We don't reach a few hundreds at a time. So what do we do to change this? We also realized that even if we reached 100, it was very expensive. We spent thousands of Australian dollars to get those things done. We reached only a few hundred, and the knowledge didn't even last for more than 6 months. So something had to change. From that knowledge, we decided to go statewide. All right, Nigeria is also a country of 37 states with the capital. That's 37 jurisdictions. So okay, let's do it for one state. At least that's the start. All right, that's about 4 to 5 million people. And we also researched, evaluated that program. All right. And then we realized that the lessons from the first one worked. After our evaluation, we realized that, okay, maybe this knowledge can last longer. We could now reach as many people. Then it became tens of thousands at the time. And then, it also showed it was effective. So we were happy, and we decided to put in the school curriculum and have it across board. And then the measures we put in place was to have them in the curriculum and have them repeated. So instead of having the one-off teachings, we had the school teachers, which made it very cheap, because these are teachers already employed by the government. Within the curriculum, they talked about it repeatedly in the curriculum, and it didn't just end there. We tried also to make sure there was an engagement format in the system. So what we did was have it as part of the exam. So you don't just talk about it and walk away, you have to pass it to move to the next class. So it was well picked up, and then we decided to make it a national program. Remember, we have millions to target. Data was very instrumental because the first thing we did was to get in touch with the NYC. That's National Youth Service Corps program. It's Africa's largest youth organization. So in Nigeria, once you become a university graduate, you must serve for 1 year, free service to the government. So they have a body there. We went to them. Luckily, I was around at the time, so I led the team. Within 5 minutes of talking, the Director General approved this program, and it was all based on the data we showed. I'm going to show some of the content in the gallery. So in 2022 officially, and from that program alone, we were able to reach about 500,000 people every year across Nigeria. And we then decided to get in touch with the Nigerian Parliament, because we felt, all right, you're doing it for the youths that have graduated from universities. What about other Nigerians? What about people in secondary schools? And that's why I went to the Parliament to try to make it a law. And again, it was a very easy, smooth sailing mission, because looking at the data, everybody approved it, and it's passed as law back in Nigeria last year. It's only awaiting presidential assent. And with that alone, we can reach tens of millions of people across the country every year in a very sustainable way without spending a dime extra. We don't have to spend anything extra. Our next target is to take it to a mix that's the low medium income countries. Countries like Nigeria, and again, the same story. In 5 days' time, I'll be going to Geneva. I'm going to be talking about this in a conference. And then, of course, high income countries, which is how it affects us. In Australia, most of us would know the Aboriginal communities seem to lag behind in everything, particularly on health and education. So right track transfer, they have poorer outcomes, they have poorer uptakes on everything, and things like that. So we will be talking to the Australian Parliament at some point in the next 1 year. So if anyone here is in the Parliament, if anyone here works in the Aboriginal community, we are more than willing to work with anyone. Sorry. So I've mentioned this from September 17 to 19, and of course I've talked a few times about this Australian network. The APAC is the Asia Pacific network. Case study 2. So it's not just on health. So I'm just using these 2 major case studies. So also on education, which is the second leg of our activity tripod. We back in 2017 introduced a scholarship scheme, and the idea was to use the little resources we have to reach as many students as possible to kind of instigate higher educational outcomes. Our theory was that we combined 3 principles, one of which was to combine a hybrid of merit and needs-based selection procedure. We felt if we do it that way, we're going to reach out to more people using the same funds. We also felt that if we involve the community in the execution of this program, we're going to have better impact. And finally, we thought that if we motivate every student that's eligible, not just those that are brilliant, we may have better outcomes. The idea was to optimize test scores, improve learning outcomes, and hopefully minimize the educational inequalities in the country. But was it going to be effective? We didn't know that, all right? So at the time I was going to evaluate this, our team, I was going to do a PhD. So we agreed, okay, let's make it a PhD program. It's just been submitted, and it was effective, all right? We found that it was effective at improving test scores and improving the enrollment. For a country like Nigeria, it's a big thing. But it doesn't end there, because for a country like Australia, so again, the Aboriginals kind of lag behind in that plan with everything, we also think this can also be kind of, implemented across the board. So again, we're going to be liaising with the appropriate authorities here. In Canada and Australia, where I know there are some of the disadvantaged communities. Now, these are other programs that we do that we have not evaluated. So we haven't stopped. We're still going to be looking at other programs. Just put it in here to say that this is kind of a culture within the foundation, the culture I'm hoping that every NFP here will kind of take on board. We introduced an application which won an award back in 2002 in the UK, designed to educate women on breast and cervical cancers by sending reminders. A key thing in developing countries where you don't have recall systems, like here, every woman of age knows that you get reminders from your GPs to go for the cervical cancer screening. Every man around here knows that once you turn 50, you get a reminder for your prostate cancer screening. In most parts of the developing world, it's not like that. So this app is designed to help overcome that. And also increase uptake of breast and cervical cancers. This app has been recognized by the UICC with over 40,000 downloads, but the question is, does it really work? We don't know yet. So we're going to evaluate that starting in January. For research-minded people here, you're welcome on board to partner with us on that. We also work with Parliament to introduce sexual gender-based violence teachings. Again, we don't know if it's working. The bill has been passed. It's going to become law soon. We're also going to be evaluating that. And finally, we have a cancer project to do digital screening devices, free for Nigeria since 2022. We're also going to evaluate that. So it's already ready. So everything we do, again, just by, well, I was lucky because if I didn't go to University of Liverpool or Harvard Medical School, I wouldn't have that on board. But it's transformed all we do. And the next thing now is to look at some pictures so that we can understand exactly what we're talking about. That was here. That was 2022. Nico is in Tasmania. He couldn't make it today. That's our team. We won the NFP Imagine Award. That's me picking up the award then. And then this is the origin. So when I say we stay with a few hundred, this is what I mean. This was our very first event back then. And we're going to see over the years how this has transformed. And this is Harvard endorsing the program and giving us the letter that helped us kind of move smoothly across board. That's the Liverpool University back in the UK. So this is Harvard, our graduation. And that's also a few of my classmates. That's the graduation. Again, these are the guys that helped us, the two professors there, develop this program. And that's the Vice Chancellor of the University in Nigeria that's working with us. There's an institution in Sweden who signed an MOU with us in 2023, coming on board into this program, again, driven by data. So this things look easy, but when you have this data, particularly inside the way there's competitive graph with everything's competition, the data marks you out, stands you out. These are professors, we talked to professors from Canada, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia during a meeting again when they came on board, courtesy of the data we talked about. And established the UK connection, that's the OCI Foundation. Registered in the UK, again, because of the power of data to convince them that, hey, what we're talking about is unique. And then Griffith University, the professors here have been part of the research we're doing, that's the medical school. And then the research, I talked about us publishing these things, so these are some of the papers that we published that we present when it be, and that's me talking about the project the legislative bill. So that's also engaging some parliamentarians in Nigeria. The gentleman there is a senator. We have other people in the lower house. That's our team engaging them, again, talking about that. That's what drives what we do, and that's what makes everything smooth. That's the public hearing of the Nigerian Parliament. This is our team at the Parliament, trying to make this law, which they succeeded at doing. This is the former First Lady of Nigeria, hosting us again because of the data we presented to her. And that's the wife of the Vice President, again part of the same story. And then a number of CEOs across the country that has worked with us on this. This is our team engaging them one by one, and that's part of why this became a national program. Same story, same people. So when I said Nollywood was the largest body, these are Nollywood stars, that's me in the middle, coming on board on this same project. And that's the UICC, again recognizing us, it's on their website, that's them placing us what we do on the website, that's on the cancer app, even though we've not published that yet. And this is WHO, of the country office director in Nigeria, hosting our team. The cancer project, that's our team being trained. This is going to be researched into next year. That's part of what they do. And that's commissioning the cancer project. So when we talk about the phone, the app in question, anybody here with a smartphone can easily type that in. You'll see what I mean. It's there. And for me, this is one of the biggest projects, because if this succeeds, we'll prove that this is workable, and this can transform a lot of things in the developing countries, and hopefully here in Australia too with the Aboriginal community. So any research-minded person, you're welcome to come on board on this. So I'm talking about the NYSC Africa's largest youth organization. That's the Director General at the time. That's me. This was back in 2019. That was the discussion. He approved this within 5 minutes of starting that talk. And this is what it's translated to. So this is our team. So this program, you can see, so these are fresh graduates in Nigeria. There are 37 graduates. So this, what you're seeing happens in 37 locations 6 times a year. So when we talk about 500,000, so this is it. So this is it. These are up to 37 times 6 times a year. And this is all because we're able to commit them. And so just coming to the end, we have to talk about this. We speak to the press all the time. And we're happy to talk about this anywhere in Australia, anytime in Australia. You can invite me, we can talk about it. And that's it. Thank you. If anyone wants to reach me, these are my details. Thank you very much. And questions if there's nothing.
We do have plenty of time for questions, so we'll kick those off. We can start up with that there.
So thank you first for shedding light of the importance of data. As I see from data, I think data is the most important currency when it comes for non-for-profit. And I would like to know how's your experience that you're collecting data. So first of all, how do you collect data and how do you deal with scattered data issue? Different formats, different systems that you are dealing with that and consolidated data. So if you could give us some share your experiences. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. The advantage that I must have it was because of my background, like I mentioned, in the Liverpool University and what we did, when we have our programs, we have a research team that's always ready to go. So usually we talk about it, this is what we are doing, how do we evaluate it. I've shared a few professors that work with us. So once the program is in place, we have a system, parallel system that's collecting data. So the staff that's implementing the program know what to do, know what data to collect. We usually get a typical approval from Griffith University. And then we have teams that work on quantitative data or qualitative data. And then evaluate it, then we publish. So we do publish. We use SPSS a lot for quantitative data for those who know. So it's basically having that system. I talked about having an in-house team or kind of outsourcing. Because in not every organization we have the capability, whether financial or kind of human resource capability. So, but if you make conscious efforts, I believe you can have, kind of partners, outsourcing. There are ways that can be done. I believe. Thank you.
Thank you.
There was another hand.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So my question is around, I guess, the level to which you go, because you're talking about doing all these big evaluations and like research projects, and I think that's fantastic, but I don't think our organisation would be able to do that. Like, we try to do it as much as possible. I come from a data and consulting background personally, so I've tried to do a lot in that space already. But for example, like, we only have data about the people in our program, so we wouldn't be able to do studies where we say control for the general population to see if it is actually our program that is making the difference. And so, without that sort of rigorous scientific methodology, I don't think you could publish. And so I guess my question is, what level is appropriate for organizations? Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I do agree. But the thing is, any little counts, right? It could be for internal consumption. I don't really think you have to publish. The only reason we published, and the only reason we went so big was because the population we're targeting or needed us to be, because we were targeting everyone. But let's assume you're doing a program for a group of people. All you, in my view, need is just the information to make sure that what you're doing is optimized, that what you're doing can give you the best in the space you're operating in. So we're only going here because there's a lot of problems that we're trying to solve. It's a lot to see your needs out.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation. Your learnings around how to build cultural buy-in about the importance of data. So I work with refugees and my staff are always so busy dealing with people that are homeless, fleeing violence in their home. And they're always going, I'm too busy doing the work to capture all the data. We're trying to explain to them you can't scale the sustainability, the impact of resource without it. How did you build the capability and buy-in to understand you need to do both at once? You need to walk and chew at the same time.
Yes, that's a good question. Again, the advantage we had was that we have people who were research minded, but that was actually intentional. So as you would notice, the people doing the job, actually on ground volunteers, are not the ones doing the research. All we need to do is to pick one or two to make sure, right, when you're doing this, can you just pick this up? For them, it's all part of what they are doing. But behind the scenes, those waiting for the research that are there waiting for them. So my thinking is just a small group, whether it's outsourced or in-house, we have to just invest a bit in the training. The benefits are huge going forward, as you can see. Thank you.
I have one more. You mentioned just very briefly at the end the different qualitative and quantitative data. So I just wanted to ask you about what you do qualitative data-wise, because I find that always to be the bigger challenge. You can't just sum words, and the stories really matter, and the stories are what people remember, not the stats. And so that tension between the story and the statistic, and analysing the qualitative alongside the quantitative.
Yeah, you can see me smiling as you're asking, because I had that challenge. I wasn't good with qualitative data. So in the initial stages, everything we did was purely quantitative. But over the years, we realized that without qualitative, you can't really get the insights you're looking for. So luckily, we had one or two people come on board on the qualitative side of things, and then I started to also undergo some trainings. But the point is making sure that those doing it grow, right? You can either develop those on ground to take on some qualitative courses so they can come on board and bring that expertise on board, or you can just, there are a lot of people out there, most academic institutions that are willing to look into some research ideas. So again, if you don't have the capability, just look around, look at the closest university around you, you'll find someone. There's a lot of them out there. And so yeah, doing both is good, because then you have a more balanced outcome rather than just one that limits you one way or the other.
We've got time for one last question, if there is one. That's the option at all. No, going once. So in that case, please thank Dr. Chris for sharing this.
OCI Foundation International will rise by lifting others.